I'll probably get married when I'm 35. It was an offhand comment. Young Taylor, maybe 17, casually leaned into the camera during an old interview, smiling, half joking. No serious partner, no ring, just that one sentence tossed into the universe like a paper plane. At the time, no one blinked, but today, it hits like prophecy, because at exactly 35, she's engaged. Not 33, not 36, not after rehab, heartbreak, or a scandal. Right on schedule. Now, most people would shrug this off. Coincidence, timing, fate maybe. But the human mind doesn't work like that. Psychologists call this phenomenon timeline imprinting. The invisible act of writing your future, then unconsciously building your life to match it. Here's what happens. When we speak about our future with conviction, especially during adolescence, it becomes part of our emotional architecture. We start filtering opportunities, relationships, and even heartbreaks through that lens. That boyfriend you leave at 27, well, you weren't meant to marry him anyway. Your real partner comes later. It's not superstition, it's survival psychology. Because when life feels unpredictable, especially for someone under constant public scrutiny like Taylor Swift, creating a personal myth gives you a sense of control. And if you're constantly performing, constantly being consumed by fans, media, strangers, you cling to anything that feels yours. A future no one can touch, a number, a timeline, a promise. That 35 became more than a prediction. It became a shield. It let her leave men without guilt. It let her turn heartbreak into albums. It let her delay the terrifying vulnerability of real, enduring intimacy. Because, hey, it's not time yet. But here's where it gets dangerous. When you hit that number, when the future self becomes your present self, you either follow through or you realize you've been living for a version of you that no longer exists. And that's an identity crisis waiting to happen. So when Taylor got engaged at 35, it wasn't just a milestone, it was a psychological exhale. The myth she built finally came true, and the subconscious war between timing and truth was over. For now. If you've ever told yourself, "I'll be ready when," ask yourself this: what happens when becomes now? Love life that fueled 1,000 headlines. Taylor Swift could have settled down at 25. Piece of cake. Global fame, hit albums, and a roster of heartthrobs the tabloids drooled over. A Kennedy, a Styles, a Hiddleston, even Joe Alwyn, who stuck around for 6 years. On the surface, just a string of failed romances. But dig deeper, and it's not what it seems. Psychologically, those relationships weren't failures, they were emotional training grounds. Each one brought her closer, but never quite close enough. Because for someone like Taylor Swift, love isn't just emotional, it's existential. She doesn't just fall in love, she gets consumed by it. And when your identity is your brand, and every heartbreak becomes album fuel, getting married isn't just a personal choice. It's a public event that could rewrite your entire narrative. You're no longer the girl who survives heartbreak. You're the woman who stays. And that changes everything. Here's what most people miss. Delaying commitment isn't always about not finding the one. Sometimes it's about not being ready to collapse the performance. When your nervous system's been shaped by millions watching you grow, fail, rise, break, and rebuild, surrendering to someone else's emotional world can feel like a threat, not a dream. Because intimacy isn't just closeness, it's exposure. And for someone who's lived under a microscope, love feels safer when it's kept at a slight distance. In psychology, this is called protective delay. You stall the real thing, not because you don't want it, but because your system isn't sure it's safe. So you rehearse. You date men who aren't quite right. You get close enough to feel something, but never so close you lose yourself. You love from a distance, sometimes even while sharing a bed. And over time, people stop asking why you're still single. But deep down, you know the answer. You haven't met the version of you that can handle it yet. So no, she didn't marry the first man who stayed. She waited until she could stay with herself. If you've ever walked away from something good, not because it was wrong, but because you weren't ready to let it be right, you already understand her. No red carpet, no Eiffel Tower, no champagne on a yacht, just a backyard, some string lights, two people under a quiet Kansas sky. That's how Travis Kelce proposed to Taylor Swift. No cameras, no screaming fans, and the internet totally confused. Why so low-key? Why no spectacle? But if you've ever loved someone after trauma or carried your past like a shield, you know exactly why it happened this way. Because when you've spent years being watched, judged, picked apart, and praised in the same breath, there's something sacred about being unremarkable, on purpose. In psychology, this isn't just about romance. It's called nervous system regulation, the body's way of feeling safe, calm, not on edge. And here's where it gets real, especially for men. The body doesn't lie. You can tell your mind you're fine, but if your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, your gut twists, that's not love, that's survival. The most overlooked part of lasting relationships? It's not the chaos, not the drama, not the highs and lows. It's the absence of adrenaline. It's sitting next to someone and just breathing. That's what this proposal was, a moment where two people didn't need to impress the world because they were finally safe in their own skin. And let's not forget, Taylor Swift isn't just a woman, she's a billion-dollar brand, built on storytelling, vulnerability, public evolution. Every outfit, every Instagram caption, curated to perfection. So when someone like that chooses silence, it's not a PR stunt, it's a personal rebellion. And here's the masculine angle. Men are often taught to go big, buy the biggest ring, make the grandest move, win the girl. But what if the bravest thing you could do isn't chasing her with gestures, but standing still and letting her come to rest in you? This wasn't about luxury, it was about stability. And in a world of dopamine chasing and love bombing, stability is the rarest flex of all. If you've ever craved peace more than passion, or felt more alive in stillness than in sparks, then maybe you understand this kind of love already. Picture this Instagram post lighting up the internet. Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's engagement announcement. Funny, quirky, and totally them. But it wasn't just a cute caption. It revealed what's been clear for months. These two come from completely different worlds. And that's exactly why it works. Taylor, a global pop icon, a billion-dollar brand built on storytelling, emotional depth, and a tightly controlled public image. She's been performing since 14, crafting every lyric, every outfit, every Instagram caption to tell a story. Her fans dissect every post. Her relationships, picked apart, often weaponized against her. Travis, though, he's a pro athlete. Think locker room vibes, split-second decisions, and raw confidence. He leads without over-explaining, charms without trying too hard. That contrast isn't just cute, it's functional. Psychologist Dr. John Gottman says, the best relationships aren't built on being the same. They're built on emotional attunement and healthy differentiation. That means each partner brings a unique strength and doesn't fight to own the same emotional space. Taylor brings depth, planning, emotional language. Travis brings clarity, presence, physical steadiness. And most importantly, he lets her be the brand. In every interview, he respects her space, never trying to steal the spotlight, even when he's breaking NFL records. That's rare, especially for high-profile men. That Instagram caption, intentionally or not, nailed it. It showed a relationship built on functional contrast, not opposites, just different strengths, respected equally. And when that balance exists, it creates psychological safety. That's why people from totally different worlds can thrive together if they don't try to change each other. When one partner can be the spotlight and the other holds the frame steady, you don't get competition, you get alignment. When Taylor Swift got engaged, and somehow a private moment between two people made millions feel something. Some were inspired, some got jealous, some were straight up mad, and didn't even know why. But zoom out, and this wasn't just about Taylor and Travis. It was about us, a whole generation watching, because they did something rare. They were clear. No talking, no seeing where it goes, no 9-month vibing in a gray zone nightmare. They built something, named it, and committed to it publicly. And that kind of clarity, it's practically extinct. A 2023 Pew Research study found over half of single adults under 35 called dating exhausting. 1 in 4 completely burned out. Ghosting is normal. Situationships, vague, non-committal flings are spiking. Why? Because people fear rejection, loss of freedom, vulnerability. Modern dating runs on ambiguity by design. Clarity demands vulnerability. Saying, "I want you," "I choose you," or "let's build something real," opens you up to rejection. And in a world of comparison culture, emotional minimalism, and dopamine addiction, that's terrifying. So we get stuck in emotional limbo, talking to people who don't really want us, chasing people who say, "I'm just not ready," waiting for texts that never come. That's why this engagement felt like a disruption. It didn't follow the script. No long PR rollout. No will they, won't they. No scandals or drama. Just two people saying yes. Travis didn't act cool. He protected the relationship eerily, made space for her life, showed up publicly without hesitation. Taylor, who had every reason to keep love private, chose clarity. Not to perform it, but to own it. And suddenly, everyone watching had to face a truth. They're doing what we wish we had the courage to ask for. When you see someone get what you're afraid to admit you want, not in a movie, but in real life, it either inspires you or triggers you. And if you're stuck with someone who can't even label what you are, watching someone else get a ring, a plan, a future, that hits different. Not because you're jealous, but because you're tired. When clarity becomes rare, commitment starts to look like rebellion. And sometimes, love isn't the threat, it's the mirror. Taylor Swift isn't just a pop star, she's a billion-dollar enterprise. By 2025, a net worth of $1.6 billion, the richest female musician alive, built almost entirely on her music. No beauty line, no tequila brand, just pure control over her art. And Travis Kelce? He's no slouch either. A rising media mogul, closing in on $90 million. This isn't just a love story. It's a power move. Swift's Eras Tour, over $2 billion worldwide, the highest grossing tour ever. Cities saw tourism spikes, hotels booked out, economies buzzing, just because she showed up. She owns her music catalog, writes her own lyrics, turned industry battles into a self-owned legacy. Swift doesn't just play the game, she shapes it. Travis, though, he's from a different world. NFL grit, locker room swagger, real-time hustle. His podcast, New Heights, with his brother Jason, a massive hit, landing a $100 million Amazon deal. He's not just a tight end, he's a crossover star. Athletic, charming, bankable. Swift brings emotional storytelling, cultural weight, a fandom that'd storm castles. Kelce brings the sports market, male audiences, a grounded physical presence. Together, they don't cancel each other out, they multiply. And that's why it hits so deep. It's not just a relationship, it's a new model for modern partnership. Emotional, intelligent, visible, strategically aligned. They show you don't have to choose between love and legacy. You don't have to shrink one to protect the other. And you don't have to hide your ambition to keep your relationship sacred. None of this cheapens the love. If anything, it makes it more real. They're building something under pressure, under scrutiny, knowing exactly what it means when billion-dollar brands say, "I do." They're not just falling in love. They're building something and letting the world watch. Some couples fall in love, others build something. The rarest ones do both and still manage to mean it. Everybody loves a public romance until it crashes and burns. Then those same fans cheering your love, they're picking apart your heartbreak. For most couples, a breakup means private tears, maybe some closure. But for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, it'd be a global event. Let's start with the obvious. Taylor's built a career on emotional transparency. Her breakups, they're not just personal, they're profitable. From Red to 1989 to Reputation, she's turned pain into platinum. But this is different. Travis isn't a bad boy, a mystery, or a creative foil. He's solid, consistent, emotionally present. If this ends, it won't be a villain story. It'll be a loss. One she might not want to turn into an album. Taylor's called this her calmest, most grounded relationship. So imagine the cost, emotionally, professionally, to admit even this wasn't enough. Then there's Travis. Not a backup dancer or a struggling actor. He's a media-savvy, fully branded, successful man. His net worth is pushing $90 million, boosted by sponsorships and TV deals thanks to the Swift effect. Page 6 says he's already pitching major entertainment projects. But his trajectory? Now tied to her. Make no mistake, public sentiment is volatile. When couples like this split, it's not just heartbreak, it's reputation roulette. Fans pick sides, brands pull back. Every post, every silence gets dissected like evidence. This isn't just emotional, it's PR warfare. Here's the psychology behind it. A public relationship becomes a shared fantasy. Millions project their dreams onto it. When it cracks, it doesn't just disappoint. It shakes people's belief in love itself. That's why the stakes are so high. In 2025, love isn't just personal, it's performative. It's monetized. And it's vulnerable in ways we're barely equipped to handle, even as viewers. If they stay together, they're a model. If they break apart, they're a case study in what happens when legacy and intimacy collide. Let's be real, most people freaking out over Taylor Swift's engagement. They've never met her. Never stepped foot in her house. Never swapped a single word. Yet, when she got engaged, millions felt it like it was their moment. Why? Because we don't just follow celebs anymore, we live through them. And Taylor, she's built for that. Psychologists call it parasocial attachment, a one-sided bond where her story feels like part of yours. Her songs, they hit like diary entries. Her heartbreaks played out in public. She gave people words for feelings they couldn't name. For over a decade, she's let fans watch her grow, love, crash, and rebuild. So when she gets engaged at 35, it's not just news. It's a timeline check. For her fans, many around her age, it hits different. It makes you wonder, am I behind? Will it happen for me? Did I waste time on the wrong people? It's not really about her. It's about what her story stirs in you. And guys, this isn't just for the Swifties. You've seen a woman you care about carry heartbreak like it's her job. You've watched someone lose herself in another story and fight to write her own. Whether you admire her, resent her, or just watch out of curiosity, Taylor Swift is a canvas for collective emotion. She absorbs projection. She reflects identity. And now, she's showing what love looks like when it arrives later, but cleaner. In a world obsessed with speed, fast fame, fast money, fast love, watching someone wait, build, and win feels both uncomfortable and healing. If you've ever feared you're running out of time, if you've settled for less because you thought it wouldn't come, if you've begged someone to choose you, then this moment, this engagement, this story is yours too. You're not just watching Taylor Swift get engaged, you're watching a version of yourself get a second chance. The most powerful stories don't belong to the person living them. They belong to the people who needed to believe they were still possible. So why did this engagement hit so hard? Why did a backyard proposal from a pop star and a football player feel like a gut punch or a lifeline? Because for millions of millennials burning out behind their filtered lives, it forced a question we've been dodging. What if the life I wanted is still possible? Just not on the timeline I was promised. We were raised on formulas. Study hard, be kind, don't settle, stay ambitious. Do the right things and the rewards will come. But for a lot of us, those rewards never showed up. We got degrees, then debt. We lingered in situationships, hoping for clarity. We played small and soul-draining jobs. We let people breadcrumb us emotionally because it felt safer than asking for more. And somewhere along the way, we stopped believing real love, clean love, would come without chaos or compromise. So when Taylor Swift, at 35, gets engaged quietly, safely, without drama, it stirs something ancient in us, and not envy, not fan culture, just recognition. Here's the truth no one says. The older you get, the more invisible your emotional needs become. You tell yourself you're fine. You shrug off ghosting. You laugh at emotional fatigue. You get really good at acting unbothered, while secretly aching to be chosen with certainty. But then someone like Taylor, dissected, mocked, worshipped, betrayed, stands in a garden with a man who just asks. No spectacle, no confusion, just presence. And whether you vibe with her music or not, you feel it. In your chest, in your throat, in that part of you still hoping for resolution. This wasn't just a celebrity engagement. It was a story of delayed arrival. And millennials, we know a thing or two about delayed arrivals. So watching someone arrive in love, in peace, in emotional safety, feels like proof we're not behind. Maybe we're just not done. Taylor didn't settle. She waited. She rebuilt. And when it came, it wasn't flashy. It was safe. And that's the shift. For so many of us, safe used to mean boring. Now, it means regulated, respected, chosen without confusion. Maybe that's what this is all about. Not fairy tales, but nervous system truth. Attachment that holds. Love that arrives when you've made room for it. If you've ever felt like your heart's been on back order, this is your reminder. Delayed doesn't mean denied. For the ones still waiting, if this video felt personal, it's because it was. Not because you know Taylor, but because some part of you is still holding out hope for clarity, for peace, for love that doesn't demand you prove your worth. If you're tired of timelines, if you're healing slower than you thought, if you've done everything right and still ended up alone, you're not broken. You're just in the middle of your story. And if this kind of storytelling makes you feel seen, less rushed, more okay with where you are, you know what to do. Subscribe. We don't chase trends here. We chase meaning.